New reporting from the New York Times indicates that Donald Trump is not giving up on attempting to overturn the results of the general election. He will not concede that he lost to Joe Biden. And based on new reporting from the New York Times, he had a meeting that involved Sidney Powell, where there was screaming and shouting involved. And he's now considering assigning Sidney Powell as some sort of special counsel to investigate election fraud. Again, the Trump campaign has lost some 50 different court battles in regard to election fraud, but he's not giving up. There were also, basically proposals to implement martial law. That was something that was proposed by Michael Flynn, but William Barr is not signing on to all of the ridiculousness that's being proposed, including the notion that Dominion voting machines should be seized and investigated. He was asked about it during a recent press conference. Here's what he had to say.
Does the president have the legal authority to order the seizure of voting machines around the country?
I see no basis now for seizing machines by the federal government, a wholesale seizure of machines by the federal government. Let me just say that, there are fraud in unfortunately, in most elections. I think we're too tolerant of it, and I'm sure there was fraud in this election, but I was commenting on the extent to which we had looked at suggestions or allegations of systemic or broad-based fraud that would affect the outcome of the election, and I already spoke to that, and I stand by that statement.
Do you believe there's enough evidence to warrant a special counsel to investigate that, perhaps Sidney Powell or someone else?
Well, if I thought a special counsel at this stage was the right tool and was appropriate, I would name one, but I haven't, and I'm not going to.
So again, he's not going along with Donald Trump's ridiculous claims of widespread voter fraud. And he reiterated something that he had already said a while ago, which is there might be some examples of isolated incidents regarding election fraud, but there's no evidence of systemic widespread election fraud that would overturn the results of the general election.
Yeah, so that's relevant in a couple of different ways. So first of all, the New York Times reported there was a mess of a meeting on Friday night at the White House with Trump seriously considering putting Sidney Powell in as special counsel. Then they had to let him know, you can't put in a special counsel at the Justice Department. That's not how our Constitution works. So then they're like, well, maybe we'll do a special counsel at the White House. Okay, I don't know that that's a thing, but that's what they're considering. And then he's like, okay, Rudy's like, let's just grab all the ballots by the votes, or the votes by the ballots, right? And let's just grab all the ballot boxes and bring him in. And in fact, I'm gonna give you quotes from Rudy in a second about what he said on the radio. And Trump's like, ooh, that's interesting, can we do that? And the adults in the room, and remember, they're all massive right wingers. They're like, no, the federal government has no constitutional authority to grab the voting machines from the states. That's not a thing. And then Michael Flynn's like, well, why don't we just use the military? Why don't we just declare martial law and then have the military redo the election? They literally, very seriously discussed that at the White House. And Donald Trump asked, can we do that? Can we use the military? I told you he'd ask if we could use the military. And so the White House counsel, apparently Mark Meadows, chief of staff, were like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And if you think about it, who would they use the military against? Congress is going to vote on January 6th to confirm the Electoral College. Are they gonna roll in tanks into the Congress and say, don't vote? What are they gonna do? So, but they're all lunatics. Like the thing that was driving me crazy, although today some members of the mainstream media were like, yeah, I get why. But for a while, they're like, I don't know why well-known lunatics like Sidney Powell and Michael Flynn have been invited to the White House. Because the guy inside the White House is a well-known lunatic. That's why, but John Harwood even said it today. The president's a kook, total kook. So now here's Bill Barr coming in and going, no, we're not grabbing voting machines. No, I'm not putting a special counsel into place, let alone that clown ass Kraken, right? Who couldn't put together a sentence. So literally, when she submitted her big fire hose of evidence in a case. It was all misspelled. There was no actual evidence. It was just humiliating and totally laughed out of court. So now, and I want to give you the Giuliani's quotes. What were they going to do if they grabbed him by the ballot, right? He said, "I can smell crooks, smell them, and these crooks smell so bad." Would they smell good? Why would they smell good? Anyway, you can smell them from a mile. Now prove me wrong, prove me nuts. Mission accomplished. I think you just did that. And he went on to say that if he got the machines, he said, "I could be wrong about all this, but I'd be willing to stake my reputation on it. Let me do the machines." Okay, I don't know what you mean by do the machines, but I want no part of it. And after all this, Anna, he says, "Oh, by the way, I could be wrong." Yeah, because you're making everything up.
Yeah, 100%. And some of Trump's biggest enablers are, looking to be pardoned on certain things. I mean, we talked about the attorney general from the state of Texas and how he's facing some pretty serious criminal charges regarding fraud. And so it's amazing how far people are willing to go in able to get favors from Donald Trump before he's gone, even knowing that some of these suggestions are unconstitutional, can dismantle our democratic process. They don't care. They don't we're in a dire situation. The Republican Party especially is in a dire situation when the good guy, the person to pump the brakes, is Attorney General William Barr, who had no problem absolutely lying about the contents of the Mueller report, who had no problem perpetuating whatever disinformation came from Donald Trump in his campaign prior to the election taking place, who had no problem with the Trump campaign and its loyalists essentially dismantling the post office in order to make it incredibly difficult for mail-in ballots to be counted and processed. It's just incredible that now William Barr, who is as conservative can be, is the person who has to pump the brakes and say, "No, we're not doing this."
Well, one of Trump's lawyers, Jenna Ellis, on Twitter said, "You should sit down to Bill Barr about this because you've been sitting this whole time anyway." That's not a former lawyer. That's not a disgraced lawyer. That is Donald Trump's, the president's current lawyer, yelling at the attorney general saying, "Why don't you sit down, Bill Barr, and let us seize those voting machines, and then Rudy will do them, and then we'll win." A bunch of total, utter lunatics. That's why I keep saying, I'm sorry guys, but if everyone acknowledged that Donald Trump has lost his mind and has surrounded himself with recently escaped inmates from the asylum, then I'm all good. Then we can just be done with it. But there's still a month left. And now he's onto the military option. And so we need people like Bill Barr, God help us, to say no. And Mark Meadows is one of the most unbelievably right-wing people in the country. He's the leader of the so-called Freedom Caucus. They're unbelievably right-wing. And he's like, "Yeah, no, we can't roll in tanks to Congress, Donald. That's not how it works in America." And that's what we're down to.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.